welcome to Planet Sci-Fi from the makers of Planet Marzipan. I'm your host, Craig Houston. Hello and welcome to our pilot episode of Planet Sci-Fi. Yeah, I'm cheating on my podcast other half, John, here, because it's the one thing that he really doesn't get is sci-fi, and there's a lot of us who do. So, first off, I'm going to introduce my co-host, Stu.
Hello, good to see you all.
Also, we have with us the legend that is Mikie Kay.
Hello, hello.
And also Mr. Mark Sir Kennedy.
Hello.
And Lady Stephanie of Bradley, who is our well-known sci-fi queen, who, if you've ever been to any of the Marillion gigs or weekends and all the rest of it, she gets sci-fi in as much as possible, and so does Mr. Kennedy, you know.
Yeah.
Infamous from the last performance of Made Again, where somebody had a Gallifreyan flag and somebody... Was it the Klingon flag?
It was, yeah. Yeah. Stephanie had the Klingon one. I had the Gallifreyan.
And now all you could love things were also in Gallifreyan and Klingon.
Yeah.
So it just shows you the level that we're at already, doesn't it? So what we actually plan on with this podcast is we're going to go through different franchises and things that we've loved through the ages and things that are new and things that are up and coming. And I think first things first, I think we'll talk about what got us into sci-fi and fantasy. What were the little sparks that set the flame alight? So I'll go to Stu first. Come on, what was the first thing that got you hooked?
Well, I would say probably TV-wise, it's got to be Doctor Who, Fourth Doctor. I would have been probably 6 when it entered the consciousness, probably. I've got a really specific memory from when I was 8 of coming home from a fireworks display and really wanting to get home for episode 2 of The Creature from the Pit. And that's 1979. And after that, it was books a lot. There was Professor Brainstorm. Anybody remember that?
Yes, my cousin used to give me the books.
Yeah, that was sort of core, you know, that was in there. And then the Narnia books after that. And then the Star Wars all in there as well. But I don't remember going to see Star Wars probably at the cinema until about, I don't know, probably about Jedi, I think. Return of the Jedi, I think. But before that, there was sort of Clash of Titans at the cinema, and then other books. There was 2000 AD as well, of course. The comic and Scream comic. The Stainless Steel Rat. Anybody?
Yeah.
Remember that? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Harry Harrison. Yeah.
Why nobody has ever made a film of that?
Oh,
I cannot imagine.
Just amazing. I don't think I've read them since I was, 13 or something, but I thought they were amazing. They were just brilliant. So much fun. And then the Hitchhiker's Guide, book, TV. I don't know which came first in my head, though. I can't remember. It must have been TV, and then I read the books. Yeah, so that's the only, and one really important one, which was like 1977, and it was such a vague memory, but thank God for the internet. King of the Castle on ITV, which was on a Sunday night, about 5:15, 5:45. About a young kid went down in an elevator in a council flat and ended up in a sort of fantastical realm. And it was 6 episodes, blew my mind.
Can't say I remember that. No, can't say I remember that.
Worth looking it up. And I think one of Arrow or somebody like that did a video release at some point, but I never got it. But yeah. So that's the foundation.
That's the foundation. Yeah. Come on, the Mikey. And I bet I know what yours are.
Wait, have we got 2 hours spare?
Wait, get on.
I think one of my earliest memories of sci-fi, aside from Doctor Who, I'm just going to park Doctor Who because
Yeah.
it was a very similar situation to Stuart. I remember being, I don't know if it was the fireworks display, it was something very similar to that, but I got rushed home to watch oh God. It was the one set in Paris, remind me.
City of Death.
City of Death.
Yeah.
City of Death, yes. It was the first episode because I remember when the mask came off, the Zagwoth was underneath it, and I was like, oh my God. So Park and Doctor Who, because that's an obvious. War of the Worlds, the 1950s version. I remember that vividly from being a kid.
Yeah, the
And
George
I think
Pal one,
that goes, yeah, hand in hand with the Time Machine. Very strong memories from childhood of watching those movies. And I think that was probably the genesis of it all. Where my sci-fi run goes is kind of hard sci-fi in the middle. I love horror sci-fi and fantasy sci-fi and a little bit of
Yeah.
superhero sci-fi as well. I think one of my favorite Marvel films, just jumping way forward, is like the stuff like Guardians of the Galaxy. I much prefer the outlandish stuff than the Thors and Hulks of the world.
Yeah.
Men in Tights.
But yeah, stuff like the old Planet of the Apes films. I love those.
Yeah.
I know it's veering more into fantasy, but anything that was done by Ray Harryhausen, it was all cinema stuff. But I think other than Doctor Who, I think the thing that sucked me in TV wise was the Day of the Triffids.
Ooh,
Yes.
81.
And
Yeah.
I have literally loved every single version of that for different reasons that's been, out.
Don't know how I left that out, Mikey.
There's so much, that's what it is. You can't remember everything in order.
Well, that's it. I mean, it was literally only a year or so ago I was wiring my way through the Survivors. But I loved stuff like Sapphire and Steel. On TV we were treated to things like Space 1999, and then as the 70s progressed into 80s, we were getting Battlestar Galacticas, and it was just all ripe for the picking for me. It was there's just so much to love out there. I think now I think some of my favorite stuff is still the sci-fi that verges on horror. I remember my first watch of Alien vividly. I was at my mum's house having tea, and I was treating myself to a bowl of Bachelor's super noodles when the alien burst out of John Hurst's chest, and he was eating something not too dissimilar, and I literally spat the stuff across the floor. But even to this day, one of my favorite all-time sci-fi stroke horrors is Event Horizon. Absolutely adore that movie. But like I say, I could ramble on for ages. If I want hard sci-fi, I'll go and watch something like Contact. But there's lots to love out there, and I'm sure, given the opportunity, we'll discuss a lot more in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cheers, kiddo. Go on then, Mark.
Oh, right. Okay. It's going to be the obvious one is Doctor Who. So, been a fan since I was 4, believe it or not, which is
I
almost,
believe it.
which would mean I've been a fan for 54 years. Now, the first, I had the Target novelization of The Curse of Peladon, but I don't think I saw it when it was transmitted. I think, from as far as I can remember, the first TV story I saw was an episode of Planet of the Daleks. So I think I would have been 4 or 5, and this was the way my mind worked back then was that I was with my parents around at a friend of theirs, and the episode came on, and I managed to see about 10 minutes of it. Then my mum's friend got up and turned the TV off. And 5-year-old me thought,
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
when we get home and turn the TV on, the episode will just carry on. So no, but it all sort of grew from there, you know.
See, Mikey, you were very, very similar because you had all the Target novels as well, didn't you?
Oh God, yeah. Up until recently when I stupidly sold a load of them on eBay. But yeah, I mean I had a couple of hardback first editions as well. It was I started getting them around about the time. I think it was Peter Davison kind of end of era, but the books were starting to get a bit shonky then. They were sticking, screenshots of the episodes on the front, and it was not quite as good as the old Target novelizations and pictures. But the first one I ever got was The Robots of Death.
Mm.
So after The Good Doctor, then
So
Mark,
after then, Blake 7
yeah,
was my all
course.
just Blake 7 for me was up there with Doctor Who. Blake 7 is the only TV program where I actually saw every episode on the original broadcast date.
Oh, good man.
And I just loved it. So that, and then just sort of moved on to other stuff. Babylon 5 was a big, as
Oh.
Babylon 5 was a massive
What a cracker. What a
massive
cracker.
thing, massive
Yeah.
part of my life. I met my first wife through Babylon 5. Just loved that. Used to get sent videos from America. I don't know if you remember, Craig. We used to get sent tapes from the US.
yeah, we
The
did a similar.
episodes before they'd been on.
Me and Mike had a similar thing with some of the Next Generation episodes because when Next
did,
Generation
yeah.
was first broadcast in America, it was 3 years later before we actually got it over here. So apart from like
Yeah.
the rental stuff that was out, you had friends, if people had availability of getting the episodes, you try and get what you could. Oh, long before the internet.
And
No.
then after that, just I sort of cycled back as well and started watching other stuff as
Yeah.
well. So I'm a big fan of Survivors, but I got into that way after it was broadcast. And like Mikey's mentioned, Sapphire and Steel, stuff like that. Quantum Leap, used to love that. Very rarely
Brilliant
missed,
show.
very
Yeah.
rarely missed an episode of that.
I think I'm with you. I think I saw that on broadcast every time. I think BBC Two, King of Sci-Fi.
Yeah. I think there was I think I missed a couple of episodes because I was laid up in hospital. So, but other than that, yeah, just a shame about the reboot. But
Yeah, there would be a funny me and Stu just mentioned that. I think I got a few episodes into it, and I just couldn't go any further.
Yeah,
I did try.
Yeah.
Cheers, Stephanie. What's your story?
It's Doctor Who, and my start was the third Doctor, John Pertwee. I'm even wearing my Dalek earrings tonight.
marvelous.
The Daleks and the Cybermen, probably more the Cybermen for me, were utterly terrifying. I can just remember it, watching it from behind the sofa, enthralled and utterly terrified at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it and followed it all the way through, right up to the present day. That was really probably, definitely what started it for me. Other things that sort of came along later was the Tomorrow People.
Oh yeah, I used to love that as well. Yeah.
And that one of those episodes, is still so clear in my mind. It was when it was the greens and the blues, everyone was I'm thinking it.
Cool. Blame you, Stephanie. Hold on a second. And we're getting invaded by the wife.
Hey, what's going on here? What's
Go
going
away.
on here?
This is not for you.
What's happening?
Leave now.
You unfaithful bastard. What are you doing?
Next for you.
It's invasion of the body snatchers.
Honestly, you'll stay and then you'll be clicking out again in 5 minutes.
I will be shortly, I think. Yes. I've just come to wish you good luck for the pilot episode.
Thank you.
Treat her gently.
Treat us like a lady, is that what it is?
Well, yeah, at least wine and dine. Yes, definitely.
Dinner in a movie, come on.
Sorry.
Dinner in a movie.
Okay. Have fun, sci-fi nerds. All the best for Planet Sci-Fi.
Cheers, missus.
Cheers.
See you later.
See you later.
Bye.
Right, before you were so rudely interrupted.
That's all right. Yeah, the episode that was the green and the blues. You know,
Yeah.
there's so many of these series and programs are still so current. You know, all the things that are still happening in the world. It's you know, it goes back. It just goes back in time, doesn't it? You know,
Yeah.
same old story. Other things that stick in mind: Day of the Triffids, definitely that film. War of the Worlds. I think that I absolutely love, and even just hearing the music makes the theme tune just makes all the hairs goosebumps. Was Children of the Stones.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Obsessed with that. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, that was great. And then it was funny you saying about comics just triggered something that I'd completely forgotten. And somehow, how I can't even remember what I had for dinner yesterday, but I remember the name of the comic, and it would have been in 1978. It was called Misty, and I could remember the main story that ran all the way through it was the Sentinels, and it was about these two tower blocks where they were sort of identical and
Wow.
and a copy of each other. But when you went over to the other building, it was Hitler had conquered, he'd won the war, and it was a complete, it's like the Man in the High Castle.
Okay.
And it was so cool. The comics in the 70s were so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, much better. Yeah.
amazing stories in it, absolutely amazing stories.
Yeah. Just like mind-opening stuff, I don't
Definitely.
think they'd allow it now. I don't know.
And
Yeah, I mean, I remember, like, say, the launch of 2000 AD and the relaunch of the Eagle in the early 80s and stuff and that as well. Yeah. Yes, definitely.
yeah, no, I loved Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. We got into it, and this is really sad. They were running the stage show at the Rainbow Theatre, which I live not far from Finsbury Park. And I just remember being so cross about this. What's this bloody Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy on there for? It means there's no gigs there, because my second ever gig was Iron Maiden at the Rainbow. And I think it ran for many, many weeks, so there were no gigs. And then, of course, it finished. I read the books. I thought, oh, sugar, I could have gone and seen it live. It had a stellar cast as well. So, but that's the way things go.
Yeah, isn't it just?
Through the years, it's progressed, and I'd say probably my two big loves in the genre, well, after Star Trek and all of its iterations, Babylon 5 and Farscape.
Oh, Farscape. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Love Farscape.
They're definitely my favourites. Expanse, I thought, was brilliant as well. And the reboot of Battlestar Galactica. I remember being at PZ, and it was the last.
Yeah.
We're going to find out who the 13th one was. And, Lucy was into it as well. We were going around.
Yeah.
Anyone spoils it.
It was actually we had a conversation with Lucy and Ian, didn't we, backstage in in Minehead. And it was like, what you're watching on TV? And me and Craig said to them, you got to watch Battlestar Galactica. It's like the West Wing in space. So, because we knew to like the West Wing. So, and that's how that. But the last like you say, the last episode was on at PZ, and we were making arrangements. I was going to download it so we could watch it on the Sunday or whatever. But I think nothing came of it.
No,
I mean, we've
out spoilers though.
Yeah. Talking about last episodes of things like that, me and Mikey did a proper dodge, because on the last episode of season 1 was Christopher Eccleston. Was that when Joe's wedding was? The wedding do?
Yes.
We went late to the wedding do because we wanted to watch the last episode of Doctor Who. See, this is how sad we are.
Oopsie.
We've never admitted to it, but that's why.
Yeah, the member berries are kicking in. The tripods.
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
Oh.
yeah,
An absolute travesty that the third
Yeah, yeah.
season didn't get
Yeah.
made.
Yeah.
definitely.
I adored that.
Yeah.
Absolutely adored that. And one of the obvious movie franchises that both me and Craig loved equally was Terminator.
Oh, yeah.
My favourite
Just
film.
that original movie still gets me to this day. It's just absolutely faultless. The music's fantastic. And sticking with the guy, The Abyss, that is
yeah.
still one of my top 10 if you've got the extended version, which I still think to this day hasn't been released on Blu-ray, but it's absolutely astounding stuff.
He's
It's
still
out-
working on it.
Well, no.
That's right.
Oh, really?
No. It's available.
Is
It is
it?
the 4K is available everywhere but the UK. Right. This is where we get into nerddom. So nerddom. James Cameron will not allow a cut version of it to be released. So there's only the uncut version of it, which is where they put the rat in the liquefied oxygen. And it's because the animal cruelty rules in the UK that it's not allowed to come out on 4K, because there's a 4K restoration done. It's available in the rest of the world. You can order it off Amazon as an import, but you just can't buy it legitimately in the UK just because of that one scene, and he won't cut it. So it's out there. The director's cut is 4K restoration and the theatrical 4K restoration on the same disc, so you can purchase it. I'll get my anorak off now. Actually, no, I'm going to put my anorak back on and tell my story. So with me, I almost identical with Mikey with Doctor Who and the City of Death, because Tom Baker was my doctor, and that is my first recollection of Doctor Who as a kid. So Doctor Who, Tom Baker, the original Star Trek when it was rerun on BBC One. So this was in the mid-70s as well.
And the summer holidays.
Yeah, and the funny thing is as a kid, was it which is one? Does it Return to Tomorrow, the one where Spock and McCoy go back in time through the Mr. Atos's
Yeah.
the museum and the library. I went on holiday to Belgium in 1979 to stay with Yvonne and Florent, my mum and dad's friends. And that episode was on TV when we went to Belgium. Fast forward to 1985, we went back to see Yvonne and Florent and stay at those, and the same episode of Star Trek was on. So
You are the man from tomorrow.
Cool fact, go figure on that one. But yeah, the original Star Trek has, still been one of my first loves. And also Thunderbirds and Stingray, Jerry Anderson, they were just, and even Space 1999. Space 1999 was a bit of an oddment because it wasn't shown nationally on ITV. It was shown region by region. The Thunderbirds was the same. So yeah, so it was. We used to get it on TNTs on a Saturday morning about 11:30.
But yeah, we used to get it on Saturday down in Thames. Yeah.
So that's where I saw that, and into into like 1977, obviously Star Wars. I mean, I got well into that. It wasn't straight away. It was 1979 really when it hit for me. Justin and a few of my friends were well into it, but I didn't get a seat at the pictures first time round. We actually had a dodgy video version of it sometime in 1989, and Star Trek the motion picture. Well, it started in 1980. Dodgy video knockoffs of that, because they were quite common in the early 80s.
My dad took me to see Star Wars at the Odeon in Newcastle, and we're queued. The queue was from the front of the Odeon all the way. Do you remember the electricity board at the bottom? At the bottom, yeah, all the way down there and round the corner.
Yeah, well, I did that with me Granda Craven for Empire Strikes Back. Then I saw a double bill of Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back at the Focus Cinema in South Shields in 81. Yeah, it was in 81. I think it was 81. I don't think it was 82. Then went to see Return of the Jedi. Me and Justin went to see that the weekend it opened. So like Star Wars has been a big, big thing. a big thing all the way through me now, and still is now. I mean, just went to see The Mandalorian and Grogu the other week, so it's still a big Star Wars fan. And again, like Mike said, the original Battlestar Galactica, and also this is where it got a bit controversial in the early 80s because ITV were doing counter programming on a Saturday evening and trying to put Buck Rogers up against Doctor Who.
Oh, Buck Rogers.
Yeah. Erin Grey.
Yeah, the trouble is, there's so much of the stuff like that. I think it's similar with a lot of the episodes of Space 1999 and episodes of Buck Rogers, which are really, really difficult to watch now. Some stuff's aged better than others. Some stuff's aged better than others. And I even remember as a kid when Channel 4 started and they were showing Lost in Space all the way through.
Yes, and Time Tunnel as well.
Yeah, Time Tunnel as well.
Yeah.
So we've had
You're forgetting you're forgetting something I'm surprised you didn't mention. V.
Oh, well, I was getting to that because that's not 1985. Well, 84 over, yeah, because we got that in the summer of 84 when ITV lost the rights to the Los Angeles Olympics, and it was a last-minute purchase, so there was V&V, The Final Battle, over 5 nights.
Yeah.
So it's and that's it. It was, I mean, the TV series to follow, it was absolutely shocking though. But,
Yeah.
V was amazing though.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, is Kenneth Johnson. I mean, he's tried to reboot it, and I think to be fair, I'd like to get Kenneth Johnson on the pod. I'll drop him an email.
He's done a big finish, hasn't he?
Yeah, they've done a reboot of with the V set in England with Big Finish.
Yeah,
But I think they've only done, was it 2 or 3 of the planned episodes so far?
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that seems to have stalled or not because there hasn't been anything for over 6 months now.
No, I haven't seen it.
And it's all gone.
Yeah,
And it's all gone a bit quiet on it. But yeah, I mean, even as a kid, I mean, I would drag my granddad to everything. I remember going to see The Black Hole at the Odeon, and talking about Doctor Who, I remember going to see the Doctor Who and the Daleks film back in the cinema in Lowfell in Gateshead when I was a kid as well. So it's in my blood, isn't it?
I don't know when there was one Christmas. There's a department store in Gateshead.
Yeah.
And
before it was Shopping City, it was
Tom Baker
Joblin's, yeah.
Joplin's, aye. Tom Baker opened the Christmas fair. And they had him on the back of a Land Rover driving down Gateshead High Street or whatever. Because I remember, because we were in the car and we were driving the opposite way. So I drove right past him, like, Oh.
I went to the Longleat exhibition, back in the 70s, which I have a very vague memory of. But I remember walking through the TARDIS store, which was obviously just a corridor, but it was great.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of exhibitions in London, and seeing the Daleks and the Cybermen walking past, it's still like.
Yeah.
I took the kids to the proms, the Doctor Who proms.
Oh wow!
They had all the monsters walking around the Royal Albert Hall. That was really cool.
Yeah, really good.
Mark, it was Shepherd's in Gateshead, not Joplin's. Joplin's was Sunderland. Okay. Shepherd's was Gateshead.
Was Gateshead.
Craig, some of the things that you said triggered some things.
Come on.
UFO.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Now UFO, because of the way that Lord Luke Reid was with Jerry Anderson shows, he didn't like doing multiple seasons of things. So what Space 1999 was actually originally going to be a next season of UFO before it got reworked.
Interesting. And then Time Tunnel that came up. Remember, rushing schools to watch Time Tunnel. That and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
Time Tunnel.
Now, Time Tunnel, they did a pilot episode for a reboot of that about 20 years ago, and it's actually quite good.
Yeah.
Really?
One of those things, again, that's lost in the mists.
It's out there. It's on YouTube. I think if you look hard, you can find it if you look hard enough. Yeah.
I'm going to throw Red Dwarf into the mix as well, because I should have mentioned that. Love all of that, and it's a shame that Dave stopped doing their own, home generated programs. Otherwise, that could have gone on for quite a while.
I can't believe I came across the first episode the other night actually on a channel. I can't believe it was 1988. I can't believe it was so long ago.
It filled a nice no Doctor Who gap. You know, it wasn't the same, but it was good enough, and it was British, and it just felt good. You know, the humor was on the nose, and the acting was sublime. Love it to this day. I think it's absolutely stunning stuff.
Yeah. Well, so that's a bit of what's got us started and what's given us a little bit of a foundation of the kind of things that we're going to be looking at down the line. We'll discuss that in a bit, but a quick bit of news and where we think things are sitting at the minute, because a lot of the stuff that we've talked about, you know, the likes of like Doctor Who, Star Wars, Star Trek, they are franchises that are still alive and kicking now. You know, they're big business, they're, you know, multi-million-dollar. I mean, this year that we're in 2026, we are hitting the 60th anniversary of the original series of Star Trek.
Yeah.
And to do that, Paramount have just cancelled Starfleet Academy.
Boo!
after
I like
one
Starfleet
season.
Academy.
It was just getting there.
Yeah, so, but
I can recommend the Science Museum. They've got a little Star Trek 60 trail around the Science
Oh,
Museum.
cool.
So it's worth going to see. And they've got the chair you can sit in, the little mezzanine shop. You can sit in the chair, and
it looks very cool, but I think it's only on till the summer. So by the time we go down to London to see the Murillos, I think it's all going to be done and gone. But I think the part of the thing though is the way that, I mean, there's a bit of personal opinion, the way that Paramount are now since the Skydance merger, and the way that they've had to bend over backwards to kiss Trump's backside to allow the merger. I think something like Star Trek and the infinite diversity and infinite combinations doesn't quite sit right with the senior management at the minute.
Yeah.
I think that's
When's Strange New Worlds back?
Strange New Worlds is back next month. It's back in
good.
in July.
Good.
So we've got
Final season.
Yeah.
well, we've got this is season 4. We've got season 5 to go as well.
Is
So
that
there's 10
right?
episodes.
All right.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
10 episodes of season 4, and then 6 episodes of
That's
season
it.
5
Yeah.
to finish off.
My
like
wife's
that.
been trying to get me to get my hair done like Anson Mount because she's got a thing for him. So
It needs to be a little bit longer.
yeah.
You need to go a bit more grey.
one thing I've watched recently, Silo.
Oh, Silo's
Oh yes,
brilliant.
yeah.
Because that's
Season
season
three.
3 that's due, isn't it?
About to come out.
Yeah.
I believe there might be a special guest star in season 4.
Uh-oh.
Ooh.
Extra special.
In the very last scene.
Okay.
Excellent.
Oh.
Excellent. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Silo. Again, Apple, they seem to be the ones who are throwing so much money at science fiction at the moment.
Oh, Foundation is amazing.
I mean, between For All Mankind, which has just
Yeah.
finished its fifth season, and it's going to go on to its 6th and final season in about a year or so's time when they get round to it. Star City's just launched, which is it's not a prequel season. It's set when season 1 is, when the Russians land on the moon, and it's set over in Russia with the KGB and everything like that, with Rhys Ifans, and it looks really, really good.
I would say it's science and it's fiction. It's not science fiction. I've watched it so far, but yeah, alternate reality,
Yeah,
but
alternate
science
history.
and fiction.
Yeah, but they've also got, was it Foundation they're showing, and
Yeah.
they've got Pluribus, which has been a big hit for them. I'm trying to think all of the others. I mean, Severance, is that classed as science fiction? It's a bit.
Oh, I'd say so.
Yeah.
So they're definitely pumping money. Oh, there's Invasion as well, which is their War with the Worlds rip-off, which I couldn't. I mean, I watched the first 2 seasons of it, and I couldn't quite get into it from there. And the other controversy at the minute is poor old Stargate at Amazon.
Been given the boot.
So commissioned for a full season back last year, and there's new people came in to take over Amazon. There's, as usual happens with the big management shuffle, they decide, nah, we don't want to do this anymore. So before the cameras started to roll in the autumn, all the last couple of years' work that they were planning on doing has just gone bye-bye. And the other question at the minute is, what's happening with Doctor Who?
Yes, well,
Seems like a shambles.
it's a complete shambles, I think. Well,
Mm.
just needs a
Needs
maybe
a
even
rest.
needs a rest.
5 years.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Well, considering that Russell T has been doing a lot of rounds in this last couple of weeks for his new show on Channel 4, and there's nobody being particularly asking him about Doctor Who, which you would think would be a lot of people's one of the first questions. So I wonder if it's been a bit of a media blackout, so we are not allowed to ask that
He
question.
said something about there was going to be someone was working its way through the BBC and there was going to be an
Be an
announcement
announcement, yeah.
in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So, but
Which was a couple of weeks ago.
yeah, without actually obviously not saying what it was. So
Yeah.
Because even back in the BBC production days before this deal with Disney and all the rest of it, didn't they usually film the Christmas specials around about Easter time
Yeah.
to get
Yeah,
the visual
yeah.
effects and get
Well in
everything done?
advance. Yeah.
Some of them were filmed as late as sort of like July, August, September. Some of them were really rushed through, especially when Moffat was working on Sherlock. He didn't get a lot of the writing done till like the last minute. So they would do sort of like pre-production stuff and do what they could, and then it was just all hands to deck. So they have turned around Christmas specials in as little as 3 months before. So, it can be done. And now that they haven't got a Disney budget behind them, they're not going to be waiting for months and months worth of special effects to be, put into place. So who knows? Who knows? I'm not optimistic that we're going to see a Christmas special anymore. If we do, Hosanna, I will be very, very happy, but it all feels muddy to me. I think it's been mismanaged, mishandled, and I'm not laying that at Russell's door because I don't think this is entirely his fault. I think there's been too much red tape with, we can't say this until Disney says no. And, a poor Shooty, I think he's been given a raw deal because I truly, truly believe that guy hung on as long as he possibly could before he said, look, I'm not stalling my career.
Yeah.
An up-and-coming star is not going to stall their career waiting for an if to see if a third season will go through. And as much as he said, oh, I was knackered and, bloody, bloody, blah, we all know the party line. The truth of the matter is you couldn't hang on and wait for a third season to be announced. You probably knew it wasn't going to get announced. So it was run away while I can,
Yeah.
And it's a shame because I really feel that his Doctor was just starting to come into his own. If we put to
Agreed.
bed the awful,
Stories.
series closes,
Yeah.
I mean, I really enjoyed 80% of season 2. The handling of the two-part finale was awful.
yeah,
But that aside, his acting was impeccable. In season 1, I think Dot and Bubble was one of the best Doctor Who's I've seen in a long time. The story and the engine for me was just absolutely fantastic. But yeah, if you put the space babies and stuff like that to one side and concentrate on the good, there was some classic Doctor Who in there. And I just think we have been shortchanged a very, very good Doctor there.
Mm.
Do you not think Disney, because of the money that they put into it, also feel a bit, well, how come we didn't do anything iconic like Dalek or Cyberman or something big like that for the American audience?
Well, this
You
is the thing that really annoys me
hit
because
something iconic just that way. Because yes, I know he did bring some really deep dives from the 70s and things that
but you
into it.
can't say it's a jumping on point and do that. He was saying, this is season 1, this is new Doctor Who, let's
Yeah.
put the three specials to one side. That was for the fans. This is new Disney series, new Doctor Who. Let's,
Soft reboot.
as Chibnall did, we're going to have no recurring monsters in the first season, blah, blah, blah. I get it, but do not do what he did with that Rogue episode and throw all Doctor's faces and, then you've got the Rani in season 2. If this is a jumping on point, you're not going to know who Sutek is. You're not going to know who the Rani is. If you were going to do that, just call it season 16 or whatever it was going to be. You don't call it season 1 and don't say it's a reboot and don't say it's a jumping on point because it's not. Sell it for what it is. And I think Disney were probably sold something on the basis of you're getting this new IP to add to your Marvels and your Star Warses, and it's going to do this and it's going to do that, and it just didn't.
Yeah.
And I think probably people came in, watched episode 1 and 2 of the first season, just went, "What the buggery bollocks is this?" and didn't tune back in.
But I think as well that
they should have had a Dalek episode as the first one. Bring out the big guns.
Yeah.
Doctor Who is more than just quirkiness and being in the here and now. If you're going to reference the past, bring out the good stuff.
But also, if you're going
I think it's a missed opportunity.
But if
Throw the money at the license. Yeah.
If you're going to invest what they did without having Doctors 9 or even Doctors 8 through to Geordie, it wasn't on Disney Plus. They didn't have the rights to all those seasons which they needed to get the Disney audience, because the rights were sporadically round for different territories. And if they've actually got the rights together for, say post 96 through, that would have helped them, have the stuff on Disney Plus for a good 6 months before your new series, just to get your audience ready for something new. But they didn't have that. They went cold into something without actually having like the backup material to go with it. So, question is, do you think a lot of the rumors are true, where they're actually finding it difficult to get an actor to commit to be the next Doctor because there's so much up in the air, because you don't know if there's going to be a new series, because you need to have a commitment. You need to have a commitment for a new series to get a Doctor, because you're not going to have, somebody's not just going to want to be parachuted in for a Christmas special to not know whether they've got a job.
I don't think it's
forward.
The poisoned chalice that they're making it out to be. I think a lot of
it just need a series commitment.
Well, even if it was one episode, I think there would be a lot of actors out there who would quite like to have the Doctor Who pin stuck on the lapel. I think the media's made it out to be something that it just truly is not. Yes, they're probably finding it difficult in so much as they can't give commitments at this moment in time. So in that respect, some actors may be hesitant, but I would imagine if they approach 1,000 people, at least 900 of them would say yes.
If you're a young actor making your way, why wouldn't you say yes?
Oh, absolutely.
And with a halfway decent profile,
I mean, this is the Doctor now, be it whether they cast a male or a female, whichever way they're going to go with it. It's something that the actor has got to be prepared to commit to, because you even talk to you see interviews lately with Peter Capaldi and people like that where they explain how much pressure's on them. So they've got to be essentially squeaky clean, haven't they?
That's the genre acting now, isn't it? Sort of committing to multi-series, multi-film. You got to do it, haven't you?
I mean, this is the thing where they're taking the time. Yeah, it's why they're taking the time with James Bond, because you've got to have an actor who's a certain age, certain type, who's going to be prepared to commit to about 10 years of their career, at least for 2 or 3 films.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the Bond films like back in the day where they were out every 2 years.
No.
You know, now they've got like bigger gaps in between. So, you know, unless you're going to get back into a pattern of more regular and faster, people have got to work out
Well-
where they are in their career for it.
I think the other thing that the BBC / Russell did get slightly wrong was building up the promise of this universe that we were getting.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be like Marvel and Star Wars. You're going to be getting this, you're going to be getting that. In the fallow years where we might not be putting out a Doctor Who series, you might get a story about the Cybermen, or you might get a story about, you know, I don't know, Sarah
Unit.
Jane's, you know, whoever, you know. And it just kind of fell flat. I mean, The War Between the Land and the Sea, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I
It's
thoroughly
what it
enjoyed
is.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's
still
great
hasn't been
fun.
on. That still hasn't been on Disney Plus yet.
No.
Really?
And that in itself rings alarm bells for me. There's something not right. And I dare say we probably won't know for another 5 or 10 years. But, you know, when these autobiographies start getting spat out and people start dishing the truths, but it filled me with a lot of hope, because I just thought, well, yeah, you know, it must be difficult for the writers, and TV production isn't what it was 10, 15 years ago. We know the shorter seasons, and, you know, costs are spiraling, and, you know, we're used to that now, you know, but Doctor Who was always event television, whether that be a series of 13 or a season of 8, didn't matter, because that's what it was. And it was like, we're going to be getting more of these events. You know, you're going to be getting these spin-offs that you've long since waited for, you know. And again, because the main series has failed to do what they expected it to do, we're probably never gonna get a universe. You know, they're gonna tag it to things that already exist. You know, oh, you know, this K9 and Friends, oh, that's part of the universe. And it's like, that's not what you meant, though, is it? You know, I think we've been shortchanged somewhat, or overpromised.
But if you think back in what you would say that the mid noughties and late noughties heyday of Doctor Who, where you had Sarah Jane and you had Torchwood, you know, and then it didn't work out well, but you had Class. You had stuff where Doctor Who could do successful spin-offs. I mean, I remember telling Mikey the story years ago when I was walking past the school, and there was this young lass who was only about 6 or 7-year-old, and she wanted to play Torchwood. It's like, Torchwood wasn't for children that young. But it had the, you know, Doctor Who, it did have the zeitgeist where it was appealing to such a wide audience,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, through, I mean, through especially the David Tennant era, when you had all the different spin-offs and things and stuff going on. And again, like you mentioned earlier on, Stephanie, where you were at the Royal Albert Hall for the Doctor Who concert, and it's full of kids and parents, and, you know, it's full of families. And I think when the Shooty series, it didn't recapture that kind of energy that it needed. It needed to go back to appealing to a slightly younger audience. And I think that's just where it didn't manage to do it. There were some very clever stories and
Oh
very
yeah. It's the
Yeah.
sort of fracturing of the TV landscape as well
Yeah,
to do with it, you know, because we were at the cusp of digital back in 2005. We were sort of we were sort of like between terrestrial and digital, and Doctor Who just hit the zeitgeist
yeah.
massively.
But the
You
thing
know.
is, you do still get event television, you know, things like the
Yeah.
celebrity version of Traitors and things like that. There
Yes.
are things that can hit. It's not as common as it was,
Mm.
but things still can hit. I mean, you look at the Mandalorian Grogu film. I mean, as of now, it's been out for a few weeks now, and in America, and that it's only grossed $160 million. It's nowhere near its production budget back yet. But you go back when, say, Star Trek: The Next Generation, when you went from the end of Next Generation into Generations, Star Trek back then with Next Generation, it hit the zeitgeist because it was on free to air. Yes, it was a syndicated show. It was on free to air, and it really got the zeitgeist in America at the time. So the Next Generation films, the first two, were big hits because there was more communal television, there was more people watching. It wasn't as fractured as things are now. So we interrupt this podcast. Since we're recording this episode a week on Monday, so today is the 15th of June. So we recorded this episode on the 8th of June, and we're talking about a Doctor Who. And then since then, some big news breaks about the future of Doctor Who. So, Mikey, I'll let you get started.
Well,
what's happening?
I think the best thing to do is to just read out the BBC Media Centre press release, and we'll have our little four penniless on that. So, at 11 a.m. on the 10th of June, this was what the BBC announced on their media website. Today, we're announcing an update on plans for the future of Doctor Who. As part of securing the next phase of the show for future generations, and in line with the BBC's charter and agreement requirements, the BBC will put Doctor Who out to competitive tender this year. Doctor Who remains an important part of the BBC, and this tender underpins the BBC's continued commitment to Doctor Who, ensuring audiences will enjoy the show for years to come. So far, so good, he says.
Yes.
So far,
after careful consideration, the BBC, Russell T Davies, and Bad Wolf have collectively decided not to go ahead with the previously announced Doctor Who Christmas special. This decision was not taken lightly, and we know it will be disappointing for fans, but in order to set the show up for future series, it was decided that rather than bridge the gap with a one-off special, we are choosing to push forward to invest in the long-term future of the show, which ensures that when the TARDIS lands once more, it does so in all its glory. The previously announced new Doctor Who animation series to see BBs is currently in production. Details of the tender will be announced in due course. The BBC retains all IP in Doctor Who.
There you go.
The first thing I want to mention,
well,
we'll come to that, but I just want to pick a couple of these bits apart in this. First of all, not a thank you, kiss me, arse, and nothing to Bad Wolf, which I think is a bit strange. Not we would like to thank Bad Wolf for the last day. It was just a sweeping comment. And the second thing I thought was a bit snippy was it says, we want to invest in the long-term future of the show to ensure that when the TARDIS lands once more, it does so in all its glory, implying that it hadn't been.
Mm.
Yeah, subtext.
Yeah. So I think, like I've said before, it didn't come as a surprise, but after the promising and the posts that had been made in social media, not just by Russell T, but by other members of Bad Wolf and Murray Gold as well, it's...
So do you want to read out Russell's?
I will read out Russell's. Right. So, that same day, probably within minutes, Russell T Davies posted...
He's been sitting on ready for hit the send button, hasn't he?
This was posted on his Instagram account. I'm assuming it was the same for Facebook. So, from the man himself, and so goodbye from me to Doctor Who, but hello to a big new future for the show. As the BBC announces, it's putting the show out to tender. As a result, there won't be a Christmas special. We only cooped that up to guarantee a future when no one knew what would happen. But now we do know there's no need for it. You'll have to wait a bit longer for new Doctor Who, but you'll be waiting for more Doctor Who than just a one-off, so it's worth it. For the record, there was no script, I never wrote it, and no actor was ever approached to play the next Doctor. You may disagree. Fine. Sit in that chair and wait to be proved right. You'll be waiting a long time. Now I am as excited as anyone to see what comes next. Will they keep the theme tune? Will they lose the blue box? Will they bring back the Dwarven? It's all up for grabs, which is so Doctor Who. Exciting, unpredictable, and new. Here comes the future.
Well,
Okay,
Martin,
Stu,
the
what do you
lies.
think? What do you think
Well-
of those two things?
Well, we sort of all saw it coming in a way, didn't we? I mean, it's sort of like there were whispers, that or more than whispers that there wasn't going to be a Christmas special. It was being put back to Easter, and so on and so forth. And for me, I don't think it's a surprise that they've put it on hold because it's such a big thing, really. And maybe the last series didn't work for everybody. I don't know. I mean, it's sort of as RTD himself has always said, RTD lies, and Moffat lies, the showrunner lies. I think it'll come back, but I think we could be waiting until probably at least 2028 or 30 even.
Yeah, I mean, I think on a personal note, where you're saying that people, the showrunners lies, there are a lot of lies in
Yeah.
these statements. I think that financially, it's odd because Bad Wolf, pretty much they came to the BBC after the Chibnall era essentially to restart and rebook, and a lot of money behind it. And I think they invested a lot of money that they got from the BBC and Disney into their infrastructure.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
So it was a bit like, we'll cross the streams here a bit when Marillion got back in Afraid of Sunlight times when they got their advance for Afraid of Sunlight from AMI. They used that to build the Racket Club.
Mm,
So a lot of this money, the investment from Sony, because Bad Wolf's part of Sony, isn't it now?
I think so. Yeah.
So, and I think the fact of the matter is the BBC have just had to make the decision that we need to change the way that we do things, because part of their charter, it's happened with Casualty. They had to farm it out to an independent production. But on the other hand, a lot of things which go out to these independent productions, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, go to BBC Studios.
Yeah.
Mm.
So this tendering, I think there might be a quiet battle going on between Bad Wolf and the BBC and BBC Studios.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's possible.
I think this tender, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, will go to BBC Studios because they are not offering any of the IP as part of this tender.
Yeah.
So you get to make the show, you get to invest in the show, you get paid for making the show, but you don't have any of the ancillary benefits.
Yeah.
Behind
I mean, what
it.
they're looking for is like a worldwide distributor, really, isn't it?
To be fair, they're more looking for somebody to make it rather than necessarily distribute it.
They need a production company that's going to go, we can do this and it can be a feather in our hats,
I mean, there was some talk of AMC, wasn't there, for a while?
AMC in America, yeah, there is a
Mm.
potentially as a streaming partner, but haven't they just got the rights to stream the BBC stuff from 2005 to like 2023, I think.
Correct. Yeah.
So I think it smells a little bit whiffy.
It
And
does actually. Yeah.
And I do. I mean, Russell can say all he likes that there was nothing written and nothing planned, and I understand that they made the announcement as a gap plug, but you can't make an announcement like that as a gap plug when you've got not. You don't just announce that you're going to make something for this particular time just to keep it on going and say there was never plans to do anything. You're just saying it just to keep people happy. Well, in business, you
Yeah.
can't really do that because you make yourself look a little bit foolish.
You know what was alarm bells for me, and I was just talking about it to Ben earlier on today, which was a few months back. There was huge auction of a load of Bad Wolves props, and at the time we were like, "What are they doing this for? Surely, there'll be like a Doctor Who experience down the line, or a museum, or da 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 da." But it was like, no, sell it all, sell it all, sell it all. That was a we need some money back from something exercise.
Yeah, I mean they've just done that in Canada with props and things and sets and stuff from Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Strange New Worlds and things as well.
I know it happens, but when it comes to like legacy programs, a lot of these props I'm assuming was stuff that could easily be reused. It's not like it was half falling to bits Stavros mask.
Yeah, they used to regularly take stuff out of the Cardiff exhibition and reuse it.
Yeah.
But I think if it's going to a new production company, they don't want to share assets.
Well, and they won't, because they'll be expecting that production company to put the money where the mouth is. It's interesting actually because I was just mentioning to Craig earlier on today, Russell's literally just announced he's releasing a book later in the year called The Queerest of Folk, A Life in Television. And that includes everything from his was it Why Don't You he did?
Yes,
yes, it was, yeah.
Right the way up to Tiptoe. So it will include the latest seasons of Doctor Who. So it'll be interesting when that comes out. If, given, a few more months' time, whether it'll be a bit disclosure-y.
I mean, I think to be fair, you're not ever really in the next 10 years plus going to get to hear the unadulterated actual truth about what's gone on.
No,
because it's going to be corporate, it's going to be complicated because it's millions of pounds worth of thing, and it's an
there'll be a lot of legal.
And nobody wants to badmouth the show, or nobody wants to come out of it looking bad or anything like that. Because they've got to have a perception thing. And the top and bottom is they are all right. The franchise isn't dead. It's not cancelled. It's not. You can doom. You can naysay as much as you like. It will survive. How it's going to survive and the way that it's going to survive and how it's going to, it's just, it will take a bit of time to do it. And the thing is, though, I think it's also quite good that they're talking about it now because there's a lot of publicity. So any interested parties can start scrambling to work out any pictures or work out what deal would be the best for them.
Yeah.
The only thing that I think is a bit sad is, all right, take away the Russell T and some of the other producers. Bad Wolf at the minute have diversified all over the place. They are making so many shows at the minute, which I didn't even realize until recently how many shows are actually being made by them. So to be fair, I think initially Bad Wolf really, really wanted and needed Doctor Who, but I think now it's possibly just become a bit of an anchor around their neck. I mean, will they actually put a bid in for it, or will they just realize that what we're done for it? It's time for somebody else.
I think this is Russell probably moving on now. And I don't think necessarily because it hasn't performed as well as what people expected it to. I had a funny feeling that when he came back, it wasn't for the long term. It was just try and steer the ship back on course.
Yeah.
That obviously didn't happen, but I think that was purely it. It was either to, you know, come in, do the thing. You know, if it had done fantastically, maybe Disney might have had a heavier hand in it. Who knows? Who knows? There's so
problem
many
is-
turn lefts going on here.
He came in
I-
with a vision that he wanted
Yeah.
to do the Whoniverse. I think he was chock full of ideas, and I almost feel like they overspent on the production of the Shooty era, where they didn't need to overspend. They were trying to make it too lavish and take too long to make, and than what it actually needed. Not talking about like it didn't need to be like, you know, spit and sawdust, but I think
No.
they spent too much money on making it something that it didn't necessarily need to be, and they could have made so much more out of the money that they spent. And I think, to be fair, out of everything that Bad Wolf have done in this newer generation of the Whoniverse, it is, I think, the War Between the Land and the Seas looked the best out of everything that they've done.
Oh yeah, it was great. I think there was a fundamental sort of misjudgment as well about the viewing public, and that we could go back to 2005 and it would be the zeitgeist again. And they didn't achieve that.
Because it wasn't the same kind of show. They didn't
Yeah.
approach it the way, if
Yeah.
they'd approached it the way that it came back in 2005, but the stories weren't there. It was, some of it was either too babyish or too complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I think the other problem, and there was a few people said this from the off when Disney got the whole thing, which was there was certainly comments being made, and I'm just paraphrasing here, but it was Doctor Who's now got to stand up with all these other big TV shows. It's got to look the part, you know. It's got to stand up against your Mandalorians and your Game of Throneses and all the rest of it. And I think it's all very well and good shooting for the sky, but
It's
you know,
not
that's
that
where
show, though,
critics
is it?
right. It, you know, they've sacrificed story for spectacle.
And charm as well, to a certain degree.
yeah.
I think,
Well,
yeah, you know.
you look at, I mean, you look at Strange New Worlds. I mean, it's beautiful to look at, but it didn't need as anywhere near the level of budget and things that it's had. And yes, it's very cinematic. Yes, it's very that, but the core thing is it needs to be engaging. It needs to
Oh,
be.
yeah.
I mean, you ask everybody and their granny about their favorite Doctor Who episode from post 2005, and Blink's always up at the top.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
just
well, I mean, like going back to your Stranger Things, half of that could have taken back place off stage, couldn't it? You know, off camera, you know, and implied. You know,
I mean, I've not that long rewatched some of the Matt Smith stuff, and
it's
it looks
outstanding.
it looks great, and the Peter Capaldi stuff, you know, it looks great, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it's funny because the Peter Capaldi era, I have enjoyed it much more on the rewatch than I did in the original broadcast.
Yeah, yeah. So, how do you think it should come back? And who should be running it? And should it be? I mean, should it be fans? Should they
Not
be
necessarily.
fans?
I think you need somebody who's got a passion and an understanding to be the showrunner. They don't necessarily have to be like massive fans, but they've got to know what a way of actually grabbing like the zeitgeist, and to be able to write in such a way that you're writing for an audience, and you're writing because you break it down. And I know we're all going to roll our eyes and things and stuff like that. But originally, it was commissioned as a kids stroke family show.
Yeah.
And that's what it needs to be. Yes, you can have your deep and dark stories interwoven with it, but it needs to be general entertainment. But the problem that you're always going to have is when a show runs so long. And Star Trek has it. You know, you're going past like 1,000 episodes and things like that. And your continuity and everything is like a massive weight around your neck. But
Yeah.
you've got to find a way to appeal to the old fans and the new fans, because if you don't have the old fans,
Yeah.
you're never going to get a launch. And this was the beauty that Russell had in 2005, because he knew what was needed at the time. And I think we're going to do an episode on this soon. The TV movie with Paul McGann wasn't a failure.
No.
Some people think it was,
No.
but it wasn't a
No,
failure.
that's-
And that did extremely well for the BBC when that was broadcast in 96.
Yeah.
So, you know, it can be done again, and it can be reborn again.
And the other thing is as well, I mean, it could be young people that were young at the time watching Tennant now being producers of TV, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
I mean,
the 30 odd year olds of now could be the people doing it. So that's quite
Exactly.
exciting, I think.
Yeah, it definitely is, because then they've got the new, a new feeling, a new taste, and a modern sensibility to it, which I think is great. Because if you need a franchise, and if you need a reboot of a franchise, you've got to be brave. And if you're asking who I think should show run it, it's never going to happen. But I think J. Michael Straczynski from Babylon 5, because he can write a series, and he can do something, and he knows how to produce something on a budget.
I mean, are the BBC looking for an established production company or just a good writing team? You know, it's going to be there's going to be somebody out there who will be gagging to get their hands on this. Whether that's the right person or not remains to be seen. But I think we've all just got to be hopeful. At the end of the day, this isn't going to be a repeat of the 16 fallow years that we had post 1989. You know,
exactly
it
what
just
Stephen
won't be.
Moffat said today. So
Yeah.
So it was
but
quoted today. Yeah.
Yep. The Russell at the end of last week, obviously there was a barrage of Doctor Who cancelled all over the particularly from the press. And he was out promoting Tiptoe, and of course the poor bloke's trying to push a new show, and all he's getting is what happened with Doctor Who, what happened with Doctor Who, what happened to Doctor Who. But he was on Gadio on Friday just gone, and he says it's extraordinary to see newspapers who should know better saying the show is being cancelled. It's the opposite. It's been put out to tender, and I understand that's an industry phrase, and people might not understand what a show being put out to tender actually means. Obviously, Craig mentioned it earlier. He says this happens to every BBC show. It's happened to Casualty. It's even happened to The Weather. It means the programme is pitched to be made by an independent company as opposed to by the BBC. But that includes BBC Studios, which is separate to BBC Public Services. So they're in the running. I imagine, I don't know, I'm not part of this process because it's a very legal process. He did say that I'm not in charge of the process. That means many years ahead, no one is going to apply for tender for 1 year. You've got to lock this in to make it financially worthwhile. So whoever picks this program up guarantees years of Doctor Who. And he finished with, but no, go ahead and call it cancelled. You're wrong. You're all literally wrong. He was trying to portray it as best I could, but he was quite forthright about his comments in that post. It was a good watch and a good listen.
I think Moffat must have been talking to him in the background, because his quotes in Radio Times are, "This is not like those of us who are old to remember it was 16 years of, well, maybe we'll tell you something next week. It's not that situation. Out to tender is not out to grass. Out to tender means actively seeking a future for Doctor Who. It may take a little longer. So what? How much Doctor Who do you need? I mean, on your iPhones right now is every episode ever made except for the ones we accidentally lost. So watch those for a while."
Good old Moffat. And I think the really important thing that anybody who loves Doctor Who can do right now is keep watching it. It is so important. If you've got your DVDs under your shelves, don't go and stream some. Show the algorithms, get the people who need to bid for it, give them the figures. Go out and watch as much as you can, embrace it, and do your best to do your own part to make sure it comes back. Which, of course, it will. The interesting thing about this time round as well, when it came back in 2005, you had, apart from the showrunner, you had a lot of writers who had grown up with Doctor Who, had written stories for books, for comics, for audio plays, who were then suddenly writing for a TV program that they loved. It would be interesting, now that the series has gone on for X amount of years. I mean, we've like 21 years now.
Yep.
Whether there is people now sitting at home writing Who fiction that could possibly be a writer on a forthcoming show,
Definitely.
There we go. So that's our take on everything. We shall now return you to normal services. And I mean, you look at like Project Hail Mary, which just came out. That has performed a lot better than was expected. And it's not a franchise. And I mean, you're looking at the new Spielberg film Disclosure Day, which is due out. It's science fiction, but it's not a franchise. And do we think some of the franchises have almost had that day? Or do you think they just need a rest?
Big question.
Yeah, that's a ponder one, isn't it?
Some rest are needed.
Yeah.
Others are earned.
The annoying thing is, right, is I think these things come in cycles. Obviously, things become popular and they drop off and all the rest of it. But it feels that there's so much emphasis on return at the moment that things aren't given a chance. Like Star Trek Academy, for example.
It's got to hit straight away.
It's got to hit the floor running from the author, otherwise, no. Yeah. And I mean, on paper, when it was first announced they were doing a Starfleet Academy and it was following on from Discovery, I think my heart just sank. I just thought, I don't want any more set in that timeline. It's going to be crap. I'm not going to like it. Of course, I'm going to watch it, but I'm going to mourn about it. And I think after the first episode, did they do 2 episodes together, or was it just the one, Craig?
No, the
2. I remember messaging Craig, and I was like, I was supposed to be hating this, and I absolutely love it. It's tonally, it was different enough from what had preceded it, but still Star Trek. And even when they pulled in cameos, it didn't feel forced. It just strengthened the lore and made it feel more nourishing to those who'd followed Star Trek through. And it didn't matter if you hadn't seen it before to enjoy the episodes for what they were. I thought it was a perfect jumping on season.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, oh, well, it didn't do the numbers. And, it's like, nah, somebody somewhere thinks this is far too woke for, for the administration that's currently in, and we don't want it on our watch. Thank you very much. That's how it felt to me.
But there's also another thing I would say with that, and I think people forget this. When Discovery was launched, that was a partnership between Netflix and CBS All Access, as was. So they had Netflix money as a co-production. When Picard launched, that was a production between Amazon Prime and Paramount. So it was on like the CBS All Access or Paramount Plus at the time, and for the rest of the world, it was Amazon. So those shows had co-production money, whereas Strange New Worlds didn't, because Strange New Worlds was actually, funny enough, demanded by the fans of Discovery, and it did. You know, that's how that launched. It was a success because it was something that they clamored for. Starfleet Academy, on the other hand, like what Megan says, is there's not many people wanted it, but they thought it was a good gamble because, like all these older franchises, you need new blood and you need new viewers. We're all old and we're not the target demographic for a lot of stuff now. You know, they need new bums on seats to keep these things pumping in the money.
So do you think we're going to actually get year one, or do you think that's dangling carrots and pie in the sky?
Nah, they've took the sets down. Kurtzman hasn't got a deal at the minute. So again, it's a similar thing to the Stargate situation. There's new management in. As soon as there's new management in, they need a clean sweep, start again. So essentially, that's what's going to happen. So is there anything that's up and coming that anybody's excited for yet? So apart from, we've mentioned the new Silo, Star City. I mean, what's
Three-Body Problem Series 2.
Oh yes,
is that happening on Netflix? Because it's been a couple of years.
It's going to be end of the year, I've heard. So sort of November, December.
Yeah. And then so you mentioned Strange New Worlds is back in July. Silo will be back this summer. Also, House of the Dragon, if we're going a little bit on the old fantasy side.
How can I forget? We've been seeing endless adverts.
Yeah, House of the Dragon, yeah.
You've been in that one.
No, almost. Sadly.
Yeah. Hubby was in the first episode, though.
He was in that one, yeah.
So moving forward, I think we'll be a bit more sporadic than we will be with Planet Marzipan, just with time and tide. I know we're going to be hitting the series and then giving them a bit of an in-depth look and looking at releases and looking at things like that. So keep an ear out for our next episode when we'll actually go in depth with a particular series, and I'm well looking forward. I haven't decided exactly what we're going to do yet, but I know there's a big vote for Doctor Who.
Yeah,
but there's so much to see.
So much to see, so much to do. Yeah, there's a big wide world out there. Big wide world out there.
And the future is not set.
Too right.
No fears.
I'd like to thank my little co-host Stu.
Thank you very much.
And Mikey.
And thanks for having me. It's been good fun.
And Mark.
Live long and prosper.
Or die horribly in decay if you do it upside down. And Stephanie.
Oh, it's been a delight.
Well, we should just keep the old tradition, shouldn't we? Say it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Take care.
Live long and prosper.
And be kind.
Hey. Thanks for listening to this episode of Planet Sci-Fi from Planet Marzipan. Check out our brand new Facebook group or email us at planetmarzipanpodcast@gmail.com.